your brake may fail. And your car is starting to skid out of control because you're going at 65, 70 miles an hour and your car is starting to fail. And you look right, there's a car. You look left, there's a car. You can't veer off. This role now of cyber is a risky role for all of us as a civilization. It virtually could disintegrate civilization.
Welcome back to part 2 of our discussion with Dr. Ken Williams on the Engaged by Design podcast. In this episode, we move from curriculum design into the future of cybersecurity, AI, and why the human element is going to matter more than ever in coming months and years. So let's rejoin the conversation with Vernon and Ken.
I want to talk a little bit about what your role is now. You also exited American Public University, and
Yes.
talk about your position, what you're doing, and some of the, not only the things in your university, but what you've done statewide in Louisiana.
Thanks a lot, Vernon. So after exiting American Public, I was able to align with a brand new project to stand up at a center, an academy training center in Quantico Marine Corps Base, with CyberBytes at that point. The brand new concept from the board, the supplier, the investors at that point, that they wanted to stand up an accredited program outside of Quantico Marine Corps Base. So they asked me to lead that effort. And I accepted that, of course, from all of the lessons that I've learned and all the experience that I gained at PUS and working with you, Vernon. And again, you're an organizer, you're a task designer. And also when I listened to the first broadcast with you and Michael, it was there. You, as a matter of fact, I now use RACI, by the way.
Do you?
In
That's
every
great.
environment, I sell that concept about having right individuals in place, the mentoring in place, and the supporting the team towards an outcome. So thank you for allowing us to introduce and educating me about RACI and how to manage an effective team and build an effective team. And that's what I use. I took that with me everywhere that I went, including this Cyber Academy. I was able to stand up in a brand new $10 million building and go through the Virginia certification process, SHEV.
So let's talk a little bit about the cyber, this place. It's a specialized lab, right? It's for someone who's not familiar with cybersecurity, what are you able to do there that you can't do other places because you have this equipment and this, the infrastructure that you put in there?
Thanks a lot, Vernon. So with the $10 million, that include both the building and this classroom. There's 3 levels in this building. The first floor was a 5-classroom, fully outfitted computer with a Cisco telepresence on site and an online capability that we were able to partner with CompTIA, EC Council, and Cisco to use their knowledge. Yes.
Great partners.
And why partner with those individuals? Those were the individuals that had the certifications that CompTIA, EC Council, CISSP, et cetera, that the workforce needed, that, oh, by the way, was mapped back to the knowledge, skills, in the Center of Academic Excellence. But the special aspect of this, where there were individuals in the workforce, especially in the Northern Virginia area, that were already in the workforce, working for the federal government, working for employers who had gone to school without a formal education and knew how to do it on the ground, but they were not certified. So they wanted to find a way to get certified. And this academy was directly set up in order to get them certified in between 5 to 7 days, to get them certification, get them into boot camp environment that started at 8 a.m. in the morning, ended at 5. And it was a really intense program that was able to get the individuals who are knowledgeable. The good thing about that, they were knowledgeable. They knew it. They were practitioners, 7 years, 8 years, but they didn't have the certification. So we were able to prepare them.
Mm-hmm.
and get them certified and get them out there to the workforce and get them in an official fit. Now, Virginia required that to do any training in Virginia that you had to be certified to be
You have to get
legitimately
that Chev stamp of approval, right?
That's right. So we were able to go through the process. You had to go there and go to a class and fill out this huge document, including bonds and pro forma, and they show the classroom looks, and they come and they verify that you were able to facilitate an academy. And that was an awesome experience because I never thought I would go through that neither. So I was able to go through the process and get the stamp of approval, Virginia Chef certification, and we're able to open the doors because you couldn't open the door to accept a student until you got the chef certification. But it was a great asset for Quantico, the location of the individuals who worked with the Pentagon and all the defense industrial base individuals there who live in that area. They were able to come to school. They were able to get off of work and get 1 week of training and certification because their jobs depended on it.
That's a lot of pressure. Ken, talk a little bit about, take a step back and talk about why this is so critical for national security.
So it's
because you're an expert at this.
Thank you so much.
We could probably go on forever with this because I have so many questions for you.
Yes, indeed. So, Vernon, as I explained earlier in my career, those soldiers and my support individuals in the Marine Corps, Army, Navy, they're the highest skilled military force in the world, bar none. Okay. Now the knowledge and skills.
Agreed.
Yeah, those knowledge and skills are born out of our service academy, of which there are four of them: Army, Navy, Marine, and Coast Guard. We drill our forces through those academy, and those academy are boot camp style. They're knowledge-based outcomes. And we take them through 6 months to a year to get them experts in their field as practitioners. Just like a medical professional at the earliest stage, we introduce them to those concepts. And then we send them out there into the work environment, let them become embedded into the knowledge and skills. And then, of course, we bring them back in about 7 years or so to get them more at the middle level expertise. So to kind of reiterate again, so you get into the initial introduction to IT skills, cyber skills, AI skills, and you sort of kind of getting an idea with the vocabulary, with the skills, etc. And you get out, you graduate, you get your degree, you go to work. Now, when you go to work, you really don't know much. You're trying to get all these knowledge and skills and the cobwebs, and people are there. But the good thing about that is you've got mentors. You've got people taking you along, answer your questions, gradually allow you to get more hands on keyboard, fix things like the network, fix things like the server, practice, eventually solve the cyber issues, patch systems, etc. And then you start to get confidence in about 2 years, 3 years. Oh, this is really good. I can start, I'm getting it right now. And all those things you learned earlier on in school, it's starting to, oh, yes, we learned about this. You're starting to recall, right? And that's the process of learning. And we know there's academians that, you get the initial introduction to the concepts, when you get into an environment like the interns and like the medical professionals, et cetera, the light bulbs start coming on.
Right.
So now you are now at the 7th year or so, the 9th year, and you're feeling more confidence now. You're left alone in order to design things, et cetera. And then we said, something, we need you to go to the next level of efficiency. Now we need for you to connect systems together, manage projects and train individuals, et cetera. So we need you to be reschooled, or what the industry is called, we need for you to upskill. Because learning is a continuous process, right?
Yes.
So in order for you to upskill, you got to go back to school.
Yes.
And to go back to school, either you're going into a graduate program or you're going, in this case, this academy allows you to go to a higher level now of your skills. And your skills, you don't need the full level of getting the certification, industry certification, because you're already proficient with it, but you're just kind of validating. You're validating what you know, and you're getting the certification that tells individuals, look, this person is now an expert. You're now it's like the mechanic, right?
Yeah, they're legit. They're good. They know their stuff.
That's it. So there's a badge of honor that, look, you have earned this, and you are now a practitioner. You are now really, really knowledgeable. You know, inside, here's your credentials. And that is what this academy provides, the training academy provides.
You know, there's a theme I also see here, Ken, and maybe you'll comment on it. During the time that I worked with you in the degrees, you recognized this sort of gap between the academic approach and what was actually needed in industry certification. And I'd like to just talk about how, we had this conversation and you said, Vernon, if we really want this to be the best of the best, we need to embed these certifications into our curriculum. Would you talk a little bit about, what you did? Of course, I say, Ken, of course you're right. And so, go work on that. So can you talk about why this is important? And we're getting to the larger issue of not being so far from the real world in academia that you're not doing something that's actually practical.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vernon. So two things sort of informed that, Vernon. Of course, I talked about my vast industry experience of actually doing it. Flying drones, I was involved with the very first drone project, by the way, called Global Hawk, that's still flying out there with the National Intelligence Systems. We were on the ground. We had to do it. We had to have the most efficient processes in place. There were no gaps. Emails had to get through, voicemail had to get through, everything had to be done on time, right? So when I came into academia, I recognized that the curriculum was not designed for that. The curriculum was missing the real world knowledge of this student going to school for 4 years, 3 to 4 years, and learning this and getting this degree that's called cybersecurity. And when they get to the industry, like for example, one industry manager, chief information officer said to me, he said, Dr. Williams, when those students come here and I take them to an interview and I ask them, what is the data at rest and the data at transit, which is the first year in freshman that you're taught in the cybersecurity, or CIA, what is CIA? Confidentiality, integrity and availability, the students don't know. And I was like, oh my gosh. And that was a wake-up call. Not only was it a wake-up call that this curriculum, that we have is so much not in sync with what industry expects. Because the industry individual, they're more passionate about getting this individual to work and doing what they're supposed to do. They respect academia. They respect us, right? Because we are, we've got this role of educating. But they demand that we provide to them, upon that interview, someone who understands their business as well. We want the individual with the degree, but we also want individuals who are technically competent, so we won't have to retrain them. So what happened over time was that industries keep on saying, well, there's a gap between individuals graduating with a cyber degree, IT degree, and those who are industry, and somebody please help us. So what happened was that industry individuals, they made it themselves. CompTIA stood up, EC Council became irrelevant, Cisco became irrelevant, and there were industry individuals in the training world who said, industry, we're going to meet your gap. We're going to meet your acts because academia is not doing it. We're going to stand up these certifications, right? And they built the certification and they got recognized as, and the Department of Defense and NICE framework started to recognize that that's what they need. There were knowledge levels that were needed. Industry said, yes, we don't know what we want, but we say what we got. That's what we want, right? So they built it for industry to accept it, and we know it is. So when I came along and I got into academia, I was like, and where is academia now? How do we play in all of this? Well, the only way to play in all of this is just adopt now what was built by industry and embed those certifications into this bachelor's degree and restructure the degree and articulated because we are empirical individuals and we are scholars and we know how to embed knowledge and skills into this new approach to this academia degree. So let's kind of map between the course outcomes, the weekly outcomes, the knowledge that these students need, and kind of make the best of both worlds. So the best of both worlds is a traditional, degree with all its knowledge units and approach, the general ed approach and critical thinking, along with a practitioner practical knowledge degree. And that student now becomes more valuable than someone who doesn't have a degree.
Absolutely.
Because that student knows now how to manage, as they go along in their role, they become project manager, they understand how to manage a project, they understand how to financially save, they understand how to do risk assessment, they understand how to talk to C-suiters, they understand how to speak to a stakeholder. All of those things are what we're doing. Now, simultaneously, while we were embedding those certifications into the degree, a project came about. It's funded by the National Science Foundation to develop the NICE framework. They said, look, we've got two constituents here. We've got academia, we've got industry, we've got this demand there for both degree and certifications. Let's put the two of them together. And I was fortunate to be a part of that group. And let's map the knowledge and skills to what the degree should be. So we spent about a year mapping and developing this thing, the early version of NICE framework. And then when we did that, NSF funded the thing, the academia recognized the value of that. We need to be involved. If we're not involved, then we obsolete, right? And industry took that, and then the National Institute of Standards of Technology, the NIST, decided, this is really good.
Yes.
And they took it over. And that is a world standard today. The NIST is a world standard that maps the knowledge of the work roles, specifically to the certifications, and also talks about the value of the degree embedded in all that. So these both industry and academia was able to come together and find a synergy. So when we got the Centers of Academic Excellence, the students were able to get that certification upon graduation that we give to them to tell them, look, you are now accepted. You're recognized by industry to be a valuable entity there is.
That's wonderful. Now, those standards, we're talking about quality here. So we're talking about the three things of the iron triangle, right? We're talking about reducing costs, through acceleration with the degree. We're talking about, increasing the quality by creating these standards and also boosting the access. Ken, when did you work on that framework? Was it after Quantico that you did that, or where did you work on that primarily?
Actually, I worked on it before Quantico. When I was with American Public earlier on around 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
Was when I was able to work on that. And, I was also, because I was in the industry as an inspector general, finished as an inspector general, and started to work inside the industry, because I also served as a defense contractor subsequent to that as well. I was invited to the table because I have a PhD in cyber and a CISSP in cyber. I have got all these years and years of practical experience. So I'm one of those individuals, a few individuals with that level of experience and academic experience as well.
Oh, yeah. Now, Ken, I want you to put on that hat, and I want to sort of move a little bit to the future here for a second.
Okay.
And that is, I'm opening up Pandora's box of AI right now.
Okay,
but I had something specific for you, and that is, a lot of folks are saying, well, you won't need cyber folks anymore. I don't believe this, but I'm going to say it. The position is, you don't need that because you're going to have AI that's going to be able to take care of this. And so, in fact, we have Claude Mythos, right? Mythos, I call it Mythos, that's coming out, but they didn't even release it to the full public because they are worried about, 0-day vulnerabilities. Could we start with 0-day vulnerabilities and explain that to, our listeners here, and then talk a little bit, if you would. So let's start with that, and then I'll come back with another question.
Yeah, thanks, Vernon. And to be honest, that's probably was the underpinning of what occurred at the cyber infrastructure breach. And
at
OA
Canvas.
authorized, yes, it's Canvas breach. That was a 0 day. Uh,
So talk about
and
that. Explain that in layman's terms that folks understand that.
yes, so we patch and fix vulnerabilities when we know what those vulnerabilities are. At least we are expected to patch and to fix the hole. If you have a boat and it's leaking, then you patch the boat and stop it from leaking, right? If you have a door that the lock is broken, then you fix the door. If you get your car out in the parking lot today and you leave the car, you're going to lock it before you leave, right? Because it's a vulnerability. Now, if you drive in the car and you may or may not notice a light on your dashboard,
Right.
and or it's faint light on the dashboard, and you maybe ignore it. It's not really a 0 day in ignore, but that inevitable thing of your car that's occurring, such as a failure, some module, etc., and you're driving at a very high rate of speed, and all of a sudden the light does come on. You may
Right.
be in a rush hour traffic. You may be in a 6-lane highway. That's your brake failure. Your brake may fail, and your car is starting to skid out of control because you're going at 65, 70 miles an hour, and your car is starting to fail at that point. And you look right, there's a car. You look left, there's a car. You can't veer off, etc. You're now in a panic, right? And you can't stop. You can't brake because there's a car behind you, right? That is 0 day. That is an unknown, unpredicted emergency. It is there in front of you. But the reciprocal to that is that you have this knowledge, and that's a good analogy. A brake light comes on, and I wanted to tell you, you have some low brake fluid that could possibly fail. Get to a mechanic, get to a shop to get it fixed. You probably ignore it, right?
Yeah, well, if you're, I won't say names, but we both in our families have probably experienced that.
That's right. But carefully, you'll get it and you'll fix that. So when you fix that, you've just taken care of the vulnerability. So that's a vulnerability that's taken care of. But the one where you didn't know about, and you're driving on the road, and all of a sudden, even a tire blowout, that is a 0 day. That has happened right away. And that point, you weren't prepared for it. And that could be small scale. It could be, let's say, you're in a good place where your tire is blowing. And let's say you've got those run flat tires, right? You probably have those, and you get an indicator. I had it by my vehicle, and I see the light that says tire pressure is going down, but you're safe to find a safe place. And that was a run flat tire, right? I was able to safely get off the road and get my tire changed. Or some tires that go poop. And now, if you had the time to get off the road and mitigate that issue, you pretty much have taken care of that. That's a low vulnerability. That's a low level of vulnerability that you are there. But if you in this traffic and you're going high speed and that tire blows out at that point, that's something catastrophic that just occurred to you right there. And that is what the 0 day vulnerability is. And is something, to be honest, is maybe something that we are now going to live with, especially with AI. Because what AI does is AI advance the process where a human will be alerted to this blowout by allowing the hacker or the malicious individual to see it before I do. If they're scanning the networks, in this case, it was a phishing attempt. We all have phishing. We all have individuals who have operated something, right? But
I have a friend in Africa that received an inheritance and needs you to help. Yes, no, it's not as blatant as those, but it's much more sophisticated. We should say that they are much more sophisticated, and with AI, the phishing and the other attempts are even more, complicated, and they're hard to detect. They're devious.
And the more insidious aspect of this was that we've got this thing now that's called two-factor authentication. By now, just about everyone is being two-factor authenticated. Oh, do you trust this browser? Could I send a link to you in your known device for you to put in this code? And oh gosh, we've gotten really, really good and trustworthy with this now, right? So now we're two-factor authenticated, and we are feeling more confident that whatever we do after we authenticate, guess what? It's okay. Well, what AI did in this case, and it's continued to do, is that once we authenticate in our bank account and we're sitting there, do some transaction in our bank account, this pop-up appears that tells us, oh, mom just emailed this thing to us because she needs some help. And she's I'm saying mom, or maybe a friend, or maybe something.
But that's a good one. That's the mom or your child,
Could you look at this? Maybe an alert comes in your phone, it says this email. And you look at the email, and that email's got, hey, I need some help for whatever. Can you look at this link? And you go and you click on that link. Could be something as innocuous as that. And when you click on that link, and now you're in this secure portal, you're now in this security channel. You've already authenticated.
Yes, and you've opened
the Pandora box already.
Left the door open for someone else to come in.
It's like you go into your house and you walk in and someone follows you into the house, right? And you're now there, and they're going to go in the China closet. And so what AI does is AI now clone this, make it more appealing. Oh, I want it. You should do this right away because you're not authorized. Let's for example, you're not authorized to be here, and you're now so desperate because you need to win. This is a Memorial Day, and you got to get your money out of the bank, whatever it might be. And you're there, and it tells you, look, if you don't click on this, you're gonna get your money. So now you've got this intense desire.
Fear and the psychological aspects, right?
Yes,
that are
indeed.
going here. So psychological parts of the cyber
pressure
attacks.
And this pressure. So in this case, the body, the individuals knew that you're dealing with students. You're dealing with your academia, especially students. So where this came from, and they're easy prey. And there's also, with AI, it was so easy. It's easy to scan the database and the vulnerabilities that are existed. Anyway, this is not the first time, right? This is not the first time this has occurred. So it's easy to kind of push this out there and find this new target. And it's going to have, this playbook was already in play before, right? And in this case, it's the application program interface where the keys were swapped out. And you never look. You now have this electronic lock on your door. You're out of town and someone has to maybe walk your dog back into your house, or let your child in from school, and you're on vacation. You're like, okay, all right, fine, I'll let this trusted person in. And you unlock that electronically, right? The person now in the house. The person now in your house, you have a safe with your valuables in there, or maybe your desk drawer with your keys. Let's say that you've got some valuables and you left that key in that drawer because you've got a layer already in your front door, right? You're not thinking, you've got everyone in the house are trusted. You can still go into your area to take your wallet or take your valuable, case may be. Now this person's in your house, and the person decided to go around a little bit to see what else they could kind of leverage themselves from. Oh, right? And they walk into your office and there's a key to your safe.
And there's nothing to prevent them. And AI, sometimes in my mind, tell me if this is correct, Ken, in AI, it's not just one individual you've let in the house, because AI can hit it so many times, millions of iterations, that the chance of it finding that key has just been exponentially increased.
Yeah, not only that, Vernon, you've got in your home, you've got smart refrigerators, you've got smart cameras, you've got maybe electronic control, environmental control system, and all of these things we are broadcasting out there, by the way. They're all unencrypted. Now, all of that information, by the way, are going out there, and they're in the world, and these little breadcrumbs are being dropped that are associated with our own address. And if you go there today, you could see that if you put your name in or your address, it could know where you live, right?
It's maddening in how much information that is out there. For example, I received a letter for my son the other day at my address, And he
Yes.
said, I have never, and it was about a particular thing, I'm going to say what it was, but he said, I have never given them your address. There is no reason why I do
That's
this.
right.
Well, how did they do it? Well, they went and found the data. They found out that he was my
That's right.
son.
That's right.
And they said, oh, we will just like send this right over to
That's right.
mom and dad's place and
That's right.
have them look at it. And that was, he was not happy about that. And I was not happy about that as
That's
well,
right.
because it's like, boy, someone's, if you think your data's safe out there and no one's looking through it, you gotta reconsider
Well,
it.
Werner, your data is not. I mean, this is not new. To be honest, when we developed the data repository and databases, and we put things into those storage, when we wanted to delete them, we removed the primary key. We said we are deleting the data, but you may go back there and see the data are still encoded in their memory, in those memory processes, right? And those data lives on forever, right? We built AI to find and recreate those linkage between those fields and those records. That's why we did build data, right? Go find all of those. And so when you scroll through the internet and the databases that are up there and the dark web, etc., you're going to bring Vernon back together, even though Vernon tried to separate his association from wherever he used to work, where you grew up, who your friend is, your friend,
where I went to high school,
wherever they were. The model is going to be able to bring them all back together. Your home, with your characteristics, your method, what time you leave at home, where you store your devices. Let's say you evaluate yourself. Again, we were talking about that safe. Maybe that safe has got an IP address somewhere to somewhere else, and the time of day that you lock it and open it, or if you lock it and don't lock it. If I'm intentional and I'm in your home now and I'm able to use artificial intelligence in some way and get everything about you, it's going to probably tell me that vulnerability. It's going to tell me probably where I could probably get some outcome, and what time you're going to be back home, what you like to do, what time of the day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to do all of that. And I'm not, it's not a human that's going to be involved with this. It's another, an
agent,
AI,
right? An AI agent
is going to say, hey, this is the most efficient thing that you could do in order to come to this outcome. If I say I want to steal some money from this outcome, and how do I do it? It's going to get it all together, and it's going to show me what the most efficient, what the most innocuous way, how to bury the evidence, how to obfuscate myself. It's going to do all of that. So that Anthropic,
the mythos, Claude Mythos,
that you were referring to. Oh man, yeah. So there were some insights about that. That is troubling, because what I do as a human is that we're starting to get better at identifying these vulnerabilities. You don't know what a 0 day is if you don't know what a 0 day is, but you know what a known vulnerability is. Today, we can't even worry about 0 days, because what we know, it takes us a very, very long time to fix.
Right.
Because vulnerabilities are available constantly. Always there's a vulnerability, and we are constantly playing whack-a-mole to try to fix those and plug that hole, right? So that takes up a great period of our time. And we're humans, right? We get weary, we get tired, and we may leave it for tomorrow. Well, we're leaving that for tomorrow to fix, while there are 0 day vulnerabilities that are coming up right there. And what we use AI to identify, prioritize what are more important. If we get a 0 day, we have to put everything aside and address the 0 day. Because that's what's going to really hurt. And again, you get your door, your car the oil needs to be fixed. That tire, you're going on a long road, you better have enough air in that tire. That's a 0 day, right? So we're going to address that before we get on the trip. If we are able to use the artificial intelligence models in order to help us to do so. So it's both sides of the fence that are used for good or for bad, but it's how quickly we're able to get ahead of each other. And that's where this new evolution of this quantum challenges that we are faced. And we were thinking that quantum algorithm, quantum cryptography would have been broken. Quantum would have been our major risk. That's what we were thinking. That which is not commercially available, by the way, now.
Right.
With these altered states of electrons, etc. But here comes AI. And AI now turned to be this real concern to kind of figure all of this out. You ask a question to a bot right now, and you're going to answer in 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it may not be the right answer.
Right. It could be hallucinating. Yes.
Yes. They start hallucinating. But if it turns out, all it takes is one. All it takes is one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we say in our business, that we could patch this hole, we could put up the best defense. And oh, by the way, we talk about layered of defense, right? But all it takes is one to get through. Just one. Mm-hmm. Like what happened in this infrastructure campus breach. One time, one breach, and that's it. And you probably know, I don't know if you suspect, Vernon, that supposedly campus infrastructure provided the ransom for them to give them back the data that they breached. Well, as you probably recognize,
I don't. How can you validate that data has been destroyed?
Thank you very much.
Come on, you're going to trust the thieves that told you that? Oh yeah, we got rid of that.
Thank you.
Don't worry about it.
Yes, and that's the reason why there are probably some class action lawsuits coming against infrastructure campus
with
right now.
Data from millions of students. With instructors going to have. This is going to be ongoing.
That's right.
That's there.
That's right.
Ken, going back to your professor cap on here for a second. Also,
yes.
And also your expertise cap. If you're talking to a student that says, "I don't know if I should go into cybersecurity," I don't know if it's just going to be taken care of by AI. What would you tell that student that says, "Yeah, I want to have a job when this is done. I want to have a future, and I want to learn something. I want to become a better person. Maybe I shouldn't go into cybersecurity because AI is just going to take that over." What do you say to that student or that person?
Vernon, what I would say, I would assume the pleading role with the student, that look, I am vulnerable. I, as an individual, I am vulnerable because my data is out there. My family is vulnerable. My daughter got a letter. She was 30 years old. She opened the letter, and it was announcing of a cybersecurity breach that occurred in the Office of Personnel Management, OPM. She got the notice of the breach before I did. Wow. And I work at OPM, right? Our information was breached, right? And that was when you start to realize the vulnerability that we all had. So I would say to that student, I'm pleading with you, similar to the way that I would plead with you for that, for the resident, for that medical residence, because that medical resident is going to turn to the doctor, is going to take care of me, my quality of life, right? That individual that I prize so much. All other disciplines around our society that we need so very, very much, food safety individuals, mechanics that we depend on, all these individuals we need are these roles that they serve. This role now of cyber is a risky role for all of us as a civilization. It virtually could disintegrate civilization and cause chaos, especially in our environmental critical infrastructure system. We are talking now about the Iranians intercepting the oil tank levels meters. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Talk about that. The Iranians have been cyber warriors for a long time.
For a long time.
And so talk about what they've been doing.
So when you drive into the gas station to receive your gas, that gas tank or the gas meter is tied to the gas vat that is in the ground. And that gas vat has a gauge that tells the operator how much fuel is in there. The type of fuel that are in there as well, it educates them about that. So the risk is that you could have that gas gauge that is showing that it's half empty when it's actually quarter empty, or showing that it's half full when it's quarter full. Not only that, it could also have, it also tells if it's clean, if it's non-contaminated. Just so scary. Now, you could be filling your vehicle and you've got contaminated gas.
Yeah. There's so many ways that are their vulnerabilities, and it's a lot of this is creativity. So a student that you say AI is going to do this, you'd have to tell them that no, we need you.
Yeah,
because
exactly,
we need your creativity because you got to start thinking about
And Brian,
yeah.
I was coming back from one of the conferences they allowed me to go. I was sitting in an airplane, Delta, I think it was, sitting beside a young man. We introduced ourselves. He asked me what I do. I said, I'm cybersecurity director, American, IPUS. He's like, oh. And then we instantly got bonded. So who do you do? I'm a geneticist. Okay. All right. Okay. We need you, Dr. Williams. You do. I don't know with genes therapy. He said, yes. You come into the industry because we need to secure the gene therapy, the gene medium that we're working with, right? Okay. Fast forward today now. I have an administrative assistant that is serving me. His girlfriend is actually involved in verifying proper genes for individuals based on genetic defects.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells me stories about her related to the trust of the verify of the gene, etc. She has to validate all of that and secure it. So when you take a blood test and you've got a disease of some sort that needs to be properly treated, you have to get this gene therapy that validates that you could do a blood transfusion, etc. And she's responsible for that. Well, it comes to a computer.
Yes, it
Comes
does.
through the system, and that gets corrupted, and we've got an issue. So the student leaves the cybersecurity education program and goes to work in any possible industry you could think of. Drone aviation, all critical infrastructure, stoplight. You've got a stoplight that goes out because of some criticality. You've got chaos. You've got the student there that are securing the network. If there's a hack, if you got a ransomware that takes out those stoplights, and then you've got a real issue, right? If you got a ransomware that shuts down all the lights in the grid, you need a cyber educated individual in that team to help to do the incident response in order to help you to understand how to get these computers back on there. If you got a storm that comes along, either earthquake or hurricane, and it takes our data centers today, by the way, that are really, really surfacing our artificial intelligence network, etc. You have to have those individuals that are providing security in those individuals. And that volume of individuals, we haven't even touched the surface that are in the workforce today. I mean, I'm with NASA since I've been here. NASA came to me with a unique issue about the Optimus space program and communicating in space. Where there's zero gravity and the need for greater nodes, so you're going to avoid the latency between nodes to be able to communicate from one path to the next path. So a lot of huge grant in order to get our students involved, to understand both the processes of the NASA, and to get them to educate them about the security aspects of networking aspects and et cetera. So all of those areas are what our students are working in. I worked with the CDC in a project in Washington, D.C. just about a year before the breakout of the COVID SARS virus, right? I was actually facilitating that, helping them to manage the network and to have them to understand some of the terminology related to the computing. And they were talking about Ebola.
Yeah, well, Belo's in the news again.
They were talking about Ebola. They had some of the SARS-CoV terminology, but it wasn't such a threat. But I'm in that room, Vernon, and I'm like, okay, why am I here? I'm a cyber person. Why am I in this room? But they couldn't do that. That was a role that I served. So that student could be in just about any possible thing that you could think of, any place that you could think of, facilitating, protecting the network, making sure that the data is safe. And as this AI world comes about now, they'll be able to advise the industry about the dangerous risks associated with that, with what they're using, because we can't get away from without using a network, without using a computer. At least not yet anyway. We haven't figured that one out as yet.
Thanks for listening to part 2 of our discussion with Dr. Ken Williams on the Engaged by Design podcast. We hope that you're finding his stories and his experience really helpful as you think about how you lead technology with your organization. Next time, in part 3, Ken shares what happened when he was asked to build an entirely new cybersecurity program from scratch, from nothing. He had to recruit faculty, design curriculum, overcome numerous obstacles, and he had to create opportunities for students across the state of Louisiana. So we'll see you in part 3. In the meantime, please remember to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with a friend so that we can bring more people into this conversation as we all try to engage by design.